Bleach finally makes its way to the PS3 with Bleach Soul Resurrection. But let me ask you something. Was it really worth all the hype that we finally get a Bleach console game again, since we haven't had one in a good while since the Nintendo Wii's Bleach Shattered Blade? Or is it really not, and basically should have stayed in Japan and only in Japan, and never ever let any Bleach game come to the States until it's something that's good and worthy for the fans? Well, only one way to find out. Here's my overall thoughts on Bleach Soul Resurrection and my review. So here we go. Let's dive on in. So get your swords, get your Zanpatos, get your Quincy items, your Card Resurrections, and, just get all your shit together and let's get this review started, okay? So here we go.
Now, Bleach Soul Resurrection is pretty much a Dynasty Warriors type game, where pretty much all you do is just basically like in any Dynasty Warriors game, go to a straight path, beat up a whole bunch of enemies, get some health, power up your warrior, beat the boss at the end of the stage, rinse and repeat. That's pretty much how all your typical Dynasty Warriors game type goes, and Bleach Soul Resurrection is pretty much no exception. However, what makes this different and actually pretty damn good to a Dynasty Warriors game is that there's actually more stuff to do, including combos to do with your actual characters. Unlike with Dynasty Warriors, if you spamming the same move every time. Sure, you could do the same thing in this game, but also keep this in mind that also you're buried to do a lot of different types of combos. I'll explain in the actual gameplay. But first, the story mode. The story mode in this game is just, well, if you haven't seen the first 3 seasons, I recommend seeing those first before you go to this game, as you're going to be totally lost. This takes place right after seasons 1 through 3 and moves on to where Aizen invades. Well, this actually takes place where Aizen declares war on Karakura Town from Hueco Mundo after creating the Hoigoku and the Arancars. So, yeah, that's pretty much where the story takes place. Now, if you're new to Bleach, chances are you're going to get lost very, very quickly, and you're not going to know exactly what's going on. That's why I totally recommend either reading the manga or watching the anime first from the very beginning to understand most of the stuff about Hollows, Arancars, Soul Reapers, blah, 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 etc., etc. Are you done doing that yet? Oh, you haven't done doing that yet. Oh, okay, of course. Okay, now you can come in. Now, there's a whole bunch of different modes you can actually go into the game, but I'll explain that a little later on. The different modes you can get for this game, as you can see here, is level up, but there's also different types. There's level up, there's leveling up your soul points, where the soul points are pretty much soul points that you collect during into the actual game when you're actually playing. When that happens, you earn soul points by destroying a whole bunch of different items by using your attack. They're pretty much green little spirit things. When you collect them at the end, you can use those points to level up your character on a thing called Power Up Grid. Remember the Power Up Spirit Grids like they had in Final Fantasy X? Well, the same thing goes for here. Except this time it's Soul Reapers and not the Final Fantasy characters this time around. It is pretty cool that they're taking some steps forward from Square Enix, but still, they could have done a little bit better to decide just to, hey, let's just copy off another idea from another famous franchise and boom, sold. Which, I don't know why they decided to do that, but, whatever. Anyways, enough about me rambling on and on about the story and how everything works and whatever. Let's just move on to the actual gameplay of the story mode. As soon as it loads. The main problem I do have with this game, though, one major problem, that will have to be the freaking load times. The load times are unbelievably frustrating at some points. They don't take up most of the half of the fun of the game, but it's just exactly when you're starting up a mission, they take forever, especially when you're starting the game itself. Like, after you skip the credits, the load time takes about at least, like, pretty much a minute to 2 minutes long, or a minute and a half long. That's just ridiculous. The load times could get a little bit painful sometimes, but once you get to the actual game, everything will change, and everything seems to be pretty damn fun.
Look at that.
Now, as I mentioned, this game is pretty much a Dynasty Warriors type video game, pretty much, where pretty much all you do is go from point A to point B, go on, hack and slash your enemies, doing a whole bunch of crazy moves and etc. Except this time around you don't hit just one random button and just pretty much spam all over the place. This time you have a whole different bunch of varieties of combos you can do, which is something I really liked about Bleach Soul Resurrection. But this game, you can actually do tons and tons of attacks and combos. It's not even funny. While in the Fist of the North Star game, you were pretty much limited to it, and the button combinations were not really that good. And yes, I used to have Fist of the North Star Ken's Rage, but I totally do not recommend that game. that game was really bad. The controls for that game were just unbelievably bad for that game. And not to mention the combos were just impossible to do at some points. While in Bleach Soul Resurrection, the combat system is a lot easier, fast and fluid, and very fun. And chances are you're going to be very entertained. Maybe for the past 2 or 3 hours, and after that you want to pop in a really good beat 'em up. Maybe old school arcade beat 'em up, but whatever, you know, whatever floats your boat.
We run and run, but it doesn't seem like we're any closer than we were. No way we could be seen one here.
Now, what you're gonna see here, if I'm able to do it, is actually a special gauge move called the Bunkai gauge. When you get your Bunkai gauge or your special move or whatever you call it, you pretty much use it to overpower mostly all the enemies in your path. This works especially well when it comes to the really big enemies in the game, like the Menos Grande, or also some really impossible boss battles. Oh, okay, they're not really impossible, but you know what I mean. Some boss battles will get pretty hard, so it's better wise to save up your Bunkai gauge as soon as possible and use it at the right time to actually defeat a boss.
From the Urankars we met in the world of the living.
The very good thing about Bleach Soul Resurrection is that you don't always just have to choose the main character, which is Ichigo, for the entire story. Unlike with Fist of the North Star, when you choose a different character scenarios, you're only selected to that one character and that one character only. You don't get a chance to play as all the other characters until you have to do their own separate story to actually, you know, play their own story with the characters and, you know, play with the other characters that way. Or there is another way you could do it too, called co-op mode, which is very cool that they actually add a multiplayer into that game, which is something that Bleach Soul Resurrection kind of lacks, and that is a multiplayer co-op mode. It would have been very fun to add 2 players to join to the fun by annihilating all the hollows, destroying all the Urankars, and finally defeating the evil, ultimate powerful Lord Aizen himself, which would have been very cool. And it's great that you have a really great variety of characters, but I really wish there was actually more to the actual storyline and a whole lot more in depth into the characters. But who knows, maybe there will be a sequel made for this game one day, and, you know, I'll probably succeed over from this storyline to maybe the time skip with the Fullbring and maybe the final arc in the actual manga. Not to mention, maybe they'll actually go back to the very beginning once Bleach finally comes to an end and do a proper sequel, like Bleach Soul Resurrection 2, and actually start all the way from the beginning of the story all the way to the end, which will make sense, kind of like with DBZ and what Ultimate Ninja Storm 3 is going to be doing in the near future. That's my favorite. Oh shit. Yo, that combo is so awesome. Look at that. Uryu is pretty good when it comes to sniper type shots. Like, you can actually go into the air and just sniper all your enemies. That's freaking cool. And that's pretty much one of my favorite characters to use would have to be Uryu. And another one would have to be Stark, which is pretty much an Espada, which is pretty much like a cowboy dude with a gun. Well, he's not a cowboy, but he pretty much is like a cowboy. Like, he's pretty much an Espada with his ultimate weapon is a gun, well, a girl that could turn into a gun. I know this is becoming very strange and complicated, but again, you have to be more of a Bleach fan to actually know what these characters and what all these stages are. I will say that the graphics are pretty good for this game, and it takes place very well. It does do a good job to bring the anime justice to a beautiful looking style anime Dynasty Warriors game. However, the problem is that the backgrounds do get pretty bland very quick when it comes to certain levels, or if you're playing the same level over for certain reasons. I mean, well, okay, you're only doing that when you're playing mission modes, which is something I will explain later on right after the main story mode process. Damn, this shit is so hard. Yeah, like I said, while the first stage of the game may be easy peasy lemon squeezy, the other stages in this game will show you no mercy, and yes, it does get harder later on. While it may seem easy when it comes to maybe the first couple of stages, it will get very tricky and very hard very quick once you actually make it. And that is kind of strange for a game that only has 14 levels. Yes, may I mind you that this game only has 14 levels, nothing more. What a joke. Only 14 levels into the game, some of them are long, but most of them don't even count as levels. So you can say there's maybe more like either 13 or 12 levels in the game, while the other chapters are just basically freaking boss battles. That's all there are, they're freaking boss battles. And the rest of the game is pretty much all about levels. And for a game that's worth $60, it was definitely not worth the full price. Definitely just, well, technically the game is much cheaper now. Maybe not in GameStop, but you're lucky to find on Amazon for close to at least $30 to $40, which I see is a lot better package deal than pretty much getting it for over $60 still at GameStop, which I don't know why it's still expensive over there. But technically the game should be a lot cheaper. That is ridiculous. Why would anybody in their right mind pay $60 when you can clearly get it cheaper, way more half off online, for a game that's not even worth that price? Because again, they could have put so much more depth into the game that really could have made a well-worthy package for $60. But other than that, it's more of a budget title nonetheless. Now, these type of enemies get hard, so it's better off if you're smart enough, well, unlike me, where you basically can save your Bankai gauge and use it to kill them easier. Speaking of boss battles, that's another one of my favorite features of this game. The boss battles take extremely well measures with matching the point scenes from the anime and manga quite well in this game. And the voice acting is pretty good for English, maybe not perfect, but good enough as it is. But don't worry my friends, there is a Japanese option to switch the voice actors into the actual game itself. So in case you don't want to hear any Viz voice acting from either Johnny Bosch or whoever the hell does Grimjaw, then you're better off just switching over to the Japanese audio. But for me, I don't mind, because the dub I really do like of Bleach. Okay, it's not one of the greatest dubs, but I'm still more used to it in English than I am with Japanese. Because, well, I don't know, I really don't care. Either I switch to English or Japanese, it doesn't really matter. Voice acting again, who cares, as long as the gameplay is mainly good. You know, voice acting and graphics ain't everything, as long as the game is fun, the controls work and everything else, then that's good too. So voice acting, you know, it's whatever. It's pick your best shot. Either you want it in English or Japanese, it's whatever you're calling. Oh, yes! Here is the ultimate special move. Well, you may think it's over. You're thinking, oh, come on, really? It's that easy? No, it does get harder after this, after you just beat them down a couple notches.
You're always like this. No matter how badly I beat you, somewhere deep inside you think you can beat me. You always believe you're superior to me. I can't stand that!
Oh, damn.
You, Soul Reaper or a Ronkar, anybody who looks down on me will be crushed!
Okay, so anyways, after that, so we continue on, and yes, now Grimjaw is going to get a little harder here, so it's best to keep your distance, because the more you get closer to him, he will do one of his ultimate moves, and it will kill you a lot. And yes, I know exactly what his special is. I have played as him in the mission modes. Oh, I forgot to mention, once you beat a boss character, you unlock him in the later on in the thing called mission modes. We use it to either level up your character or just do it for fun, just to build up how much good you are at the actual game itself. Oh, and for Bleach fans, well, just for Bleach fans, you will know that after you beat the main game, in one of the missions, you play as one of the actual movies, which is movie 4, Hell Chapter. Shame it's only one level, but it's still pretty cool. Sort of, except that it's so short, but whatever, it's still a fun part. Just want to throw that out there for Bleach fans. Yeah, the first time around when I tried to face his boss, he pretty much kicked my ass, but I pretty much got the strategy. And trust me, I played on hard mode this time. I played on normal, and for some reason, when I play on hard mode, I'm actually pretty good. This is how much I usually play this game, like a whole lot. Sorry, but this game is pretty much so simple and fun that I love to play it a lot. Now, for such a fun and simple game like this, it's not really a bad game. I can't call it a bad game. It's pretty much it's a pretty good game, but it's not enough to keep you going for months and months and months. You may want to play this on occasions, but you don't want to play anything that's, pretty much, way too challenging, way too hard, something that won't get you frustrated that much. Hell then, by all means, kick back with Bleach Soul Resurrection. Same thing goes with Kirby's Return to Dreamland, as I mentioned in that as well. If you're looking for a game just to have fun and a good time and just pretty much, well, that's pretty much all video games are about, are fun. Love playing as your favorite Bleach characters, beating the crap out of them, and pretty much love dubbed or Japanese voice acting, then yeah. As I mentioned before about mission modes. In mission modes, you're pretty much going through different levels from the actual environments of the actual anime of Bleach, and going on actually defeating the missions to level up your characters. You can either play the missions on normal or hard mode, which is actually very fun, and in fact, this is one of my favorite gameplay moments of Bleach Soul Resurrection, is the mission modes. The mission modes are so out of control and so fun that it's not just, straightforward follow the story. No, this time you do whatever you can what you do in the missions, and whatever your objective is given to you. So whatever the objective of the mission is, you actually just do it and play it through to actually win. So mission mode has to be one of the most best fun features in Bleach right after you beat the main story. So if the main story isn't very enough for you, don't worry. Mission mode will definitely have your fix for pretty much a good while. They keep coming back for months on end. If you're looking for something, to play with, you don't have any brand new games to play, this is pretty much the right gameplay moment for you. It's fun and stylish and very good enough to satisfy your needs to level up your characters. Time attack mode is pretty much just, time attack mode to get your best timing in the levels. That's pretty much all time attack mode is. And sadly, that's all there is really to Bleach Soul Resurrection. There's really nothing else to say to it other than that it's a pretty good Bleach game for what it is. It's not the best Bleach game, it's not the best, anime game in the world, but it's still much better than Bleach Shattered Blade for the Wii. And if you're definitely tired of all the portable games out there, on the DS that you can get now in the US, chances are this is the perfect time to actually check on this game out if you haven't checked it out last summer, since it was $60, which thank God the price has finally went down online. And now, my final overall thoughts on Bleach Soul Resurrection. But first, a little bit of gunslinging, which is Stark, my favorite character. Oh wait, before I go, I forgot to mention the music of this game. Oh, of course, how can I forget the music? Wow, I can't believe I totally forgot about that. The music for the game. The music for Bleach Soul Resurrection is pretty decent to okay. Not really the best soundtracks to actually remember by or anything too memorable, but hey, it gets the job done nonetheless. Oh, I also forgot to mention that one more thing before I actually end the review. Also, the boss battles and the mission modes are actually random characters from the Bleach anime, or just the random characters you play with the actual story mode, or even the villains, either one, it mixes it up every time. Okay, now I can finally give my overall thoughts on the actual game, since I mentioned everything about gameplay, characters, etc, etc, etc. The usual. Now time to finally end the review.
So overall, Bleach Soul Resurrection may not be the greatest Bleach game of all time, or the great Dynasty Warrior, one of the most greatest Dynasty Warriors game of all time, but it's still fun, enjoyable, and gets a kick out of you for entertainment. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Bleach is all in all fun, simple, and very, very addictive. Very addictive fun. Again, my only gripes were that the story could have been way longer. They could have gone to depth with the first 3 seasons of the series, which would have been pretty good. And hopefully if there is a sequel, they better do that. The second thing, again, as I mentioned for the other problem, was, the characters. The characters could have been much bigger selection, maybe over to like 40 to 45, 50 characters. Instead, we're only getting close to at least 22, I think, 22 characters. But still, with a roster like that, it's not so bad. Plus, we do get some pretty powerful characters, and I do like the fact that you can use them for the mission modes to level them up, which is cool. But there were just so much things in this game that really could have been improved, and really could have just been, like, a much better expected Bleach game on the PS3. But, is it a good game? Yes. Is it fun? Yes, it's a fun game. I play it from time to time when I'm bored at some points, when I want to level up characters, or I don't feel like playing anything too extreme. I just, play Bleach Soul Resurrection. It's a guilty pleasure. It's a guilty pleasure game for a Bleach fan to actually enjoy. And I will say it's much, much better than Shatterblade, because that game was just... Ugh. If you saw my review of that, you already know how much I despise that game. Don't even get it, even if it's at a cheap-ass price. That's all I gotta say right there. And with that, that's pretty much it for Bleach Soul Resurrection. Overall, I do love the graphics for the game, the style, even though there's some repeats and invisible walls and, structure here and there that may look identical to other stages. What? And, let's see. Voice actor work, thank God you can switch it to Japanese or English. Doesn't really matter which, whatever go. I don't really care. For all you double boos or weeaboos, it's your call whether you like the dub or the sub a lot better. I really don't even care. So, yeah, it's whatever you choose to your liking. And that's all I gotta say about Bleach Soul Resurrection. It's still a pretty fun game for all Bleach fans, but it's not the best Bleach game in the world. Hope to pray that they will make a sequel to make it even better than what it originally was. This could be a side project for maybe a better Bleach game in the near future for PS3. We just gotta hope, especially with the whole Fullbring and maybe the final arc with the 1,000-year Blood War that they're doing right now. So, yeah, out of all... the score I would give Bleach Soul Resurrection, I would give it about a solid, maybe 8 out of 10. I wouldn't go anything like too good into perfect. If anything, I would give it maybe not an 8. I would give it like a 7.5 out of 10 at best. At least 7.5. It's still a decent game. It's still fun. And I still get a kick out of it once in a while. So, yeah, 7.5. I mean, I was going to say 8, but I'm like, nah, I really can't go into an 8 because it's kind of being way too generous. I mean, again, there's still some problems that could have been solved, but whatever. It's still a pretty decent game. 7.5 is good enough for me. So, guys, thank you for watching this review of Bleach Soul Resurrection. I'm Anime Game Freak 89 over and out. See you on the bounce. Peace out. And anime nerds, otakus, keep on supporting what you read and what you watch, and peace the fuck out. Later. Stay tuned for my other... Oh, by the way, anime reviews are coming up, which are Panty and Stocking with Garbelt, which I just finished. Video game news, another segment like anime news, video game news will also be coming up. And, yeah, that's pretty much about it. So, after that, there's video game news. Another video game series I'm going to do called Retro Games That Kicked Ass, and that's going to be my first episodes I'm going to be doing, so stay tuned for that as well. So, yeah, stay tuned for my future works, guys, and thanks for supporting me after all these years, and catch you guys later. Peace.